Okay, tonight there's no entomology to this dish because I just saw it and I thought of something to make with it. And this is somewhat of this is how my mind works. I'm just going to crank something out that popped into my head when I saw these few things. What we're going to do a pan-seared veal blade steak, and we're going to serve it with some braised chickpeas and an onion and chipotle marmalade. Show you real quick. Sounds impressive, doesn't it? But again, this is what chefs do, man. I'm telling you, they fool you. This is a blade steak, same as our lamb blade steaks, cut from the shoulder blade. Shoulder, normally a braising or a roasting cut, but depending on how they cut it, if they cut it thin enough, you can pan sear it. This costs, for that much chunk of veal, $2.50. Not bad at all. And that's why you got to look for these unusual cuts that I'm going to show you. And what's going on more and more with butchery is they're finding different ways to cut the animals and butcher them and break them down so they not only get more cuts, but they can get more unique cuts, getting tender cuts out of what were formerly tougher cuts. And I'm not going to kid you, the only real reason they do that is because they can charge you more goddamn money. And they can make more themselves because they're scum. So let's get started with this. We're going to do our braised chickpeas first because we're going to get it going and let it simmer while we do the veal. Take an onion. We're going to dice it. You don't need much, maybe half. And about 2 cloves of garlic, also minced up. You don't have to get them too fine because they're going to cook down for a long time. Into the pan. We're just going to let those cook. Olive oil in the pan. We're going to let those cook until they start to get a little soft. It's going to take just a couple minutes. This might be one of the last videos that I do. I'm sorry to tell you, but I don't have any more money to buy food to do these things. I'll do them again some point in life, but as for now, I am what you might call flat broke. My foray into Richmond didn't really pan out so well, but that's okay. You know, it's the life of an artist, the tortured artist. 1 can of chickpeas into our pan. This is a can of Food Lion diced tomatoes with green chilies. We're not going to use the whole thing. We're just going to put in maybe half, okay? Okay. Get that out of the way. Pan's getting hot. Also, cumin. Salt. And a pinch of this. You know what that is? That's saffron. It's the most expensive spice in the world. I didn't buy it. I found it in my cupboard. So I'm going to use it. And saffron imparts a little earthy kind of... it's hard to describe. It's earthy, somewhat, a little bit metallic-y almost, but not truly. And it's cultivated all over the world. Spain, Middle East, actually in Asia, Greece, all those places cultivate it. All of them claim to have the best saffron. You know, those saffron farmers, you got to watch them. Spanish is generally touted as being the best saffron. I prefer the saffron from Iranian saffron. It's much more vibrant color, much more intense flavor. You get more for your buck with Iranian saffron. These are coming to a boil. We're just going to set it in the back. Now, again, olive oil in our pan. Let's get back to our blade steak. Look at that. That's a nice chunk of meat for less than $3, you got to admit. Salt. And that's it, into our pan. You see how I put the steak in the pan and I actually put it in towards myself, don't ever do that. Do it the other way. When you put hot food into a hot oil or a hot pan, lay it in, go in that way. So if it splashes oil, it doesn't get all over you. I would never feel that oil anyway, because I have skin like an armadillo. All right, we're going to take the rest of our onion and we're going to do the prep for our marmalade. Dice it up. A little bit more. Garlic. Yeah, I know, it's veal. A lot of people have ethical dilemmas about eating veal. Well, good for them. I don't. People need to relish their spot on the food chain. Make some room here. This is a plate that we're going to rest our veal steak on. Remember, always let your meat rest. Good advice. Now you can see it poking, maybe you can't. You see how it's bubbling up there? It's because the tendon on the side is pulling it and making it, stretching it up. So you do, you just cut that and it'll sit back down. Flip it over. While that's finishing on one side, we're going to add our onions and garlic to the edge of the pan. Chipotle chili, remember that? Finally, I used it up. Cinnamon stick. Good. I'm serious, you really got to try these cuts that you might not be familiar with. And you know, it's going to save you a lot of money and you're going to get a lot more bang for your buck. And if you ever hear me use the phrase bang for your buck again, go ahead and comment and say, dude, you said bang for your buck. Throw our chipotles in, cinnamon stick in. Toss it around. We're going to let it cook for a second. We're going to add, if I can find it, a little chili powder. A little Creole seasoning. That's right. I did it. I ain't afraid. I ain't scared. We're going to toss that around. Then we're going to add some sugar and vinegar. And that right there is going to create the body and sweet and sour flavor of our marmalade. And you can, you can split hairs and say it's a marmalade, but that's another thing chefs do. You know, might have two things that are created exactly like on the menu. One will be a marmalade, one will be a chutney, because we don't like to repeat ourselves. So our beans are simmering in the back. Don't breathe this stuff, it'll make you gag. Check it. Make sure you got a nice balance of the sweet and sour. It's going to take a little more sugar. And that's it. We're just going to let this cook. Going to let our chickpeas keep cooking. Check my time. I'm way ahead of schedule tonight. Now, the final push over the cliff. Get your arteries cranking into our peas, into our chickpeas. A little chunk of butter. Just dump it in. And a little touch of cream. That's right. Cream, heart food. You can see it's starting to thicken up, or maybe you can't, but you will in a minute. Check it. I'm broke. You say, well, don't you have a job? That's a long story. I'll tell it all in my memoirs. Oh, look, the thing popped up. It's like a goiter. Just kind of lance it. Now you can see it's starting to get thick, syrupy. Once our beans, we're going to give the beans about another minute or so. And we're going to plate. See how fast good food is? Pull our cinnamon stick out. Tired of looking at it. So, take a ladle and we put it right there. Check your beans, your peas, awesome. Trade places, that's done. Take your braised chickpeas. Down onto a plate. I'm sorry, my plate. Some of the juice, because the juice is good, yes. You like more juice? I give you more juice. The juice is good. Make sure everything's off. Then we take our veal steak, put it over the top. And this whole thing is pretty over the top, I'd say. This ain't no bullshit meal right here. If I'm going to go out, I'm going to go out with a bang. I might be going out with a bigger bang than you'd think. Put our chutney right over the top, or our marmalade. See if I have anything to garnish with, which I don't think I do. All right, I'll do it again. I can't get rid of this bag of cilantro. It's my fucking pariah. We'll scatter this, since this is kind of a southwestern dish, I guess. We'll put some cilantro. Eat it if you want. If you don't, just throw it away. I'm really getting tired of this. It's like the endless bunch of cilantro. And there you have it. The other thing you do, a little bit of crushed red chili. If you want to give it a little bit more pizzazz. Did I make it through that video without saying 75 times, or generally? I hope so. There you have it. Oh, look at that. Got to see that marmalade. That's your pan-seared veal steak, braised chickpeas, chipotle onion marmalade. Later.